Hey class, so we're continuing in our unit on ecology today. Remember, if you need any help with ecosystems or biomes, I'll link those videos down below, and then I'll also put these slides as a link there as well if you want to take a look at those. All right, here we go. So we're going to, in activity 4, we were looking at invasive species. So let's just take a quick think back where we were last time as we were looking at biomes, and we were thinking about how do the characteristics of that biome determine the types of organisms found there? So we were trying to match up an organism based on its characteristics to a particular biome and deciding if it would be successful in that environment and if it could thrive there. So as we moved into today and looking at invasive species, we were thinking about those characteristics and what would determine if a species would be considered invasive in an environment. And then what are some examples of the effect an invasive species might have on a community? So we read through the introduction, so go back and check that out, or it'll be in this quick check if you need it. We found out that a non-native species is a species introduced to an area where it is not normally found. A habitat is the specific location within an ecosystem where an organism lives. And then to be considered invasive, a non-native species, so an introduced species, has to cause harm to the economy, the environment, or human health. So if you think back to what those are a part of, we're reaching back to when we were talking about sustainability. So an invasive species is something that was introduced whether by humans, whether intentionally or accidentally, but it's going to cause harm to the sustainability of that ecosystem. So our challenge was how do certain characteristics increase the likelihood that a non-native species becomes an invasive species. And we went through and looked at 4 different case studies. So we started with the round gobi. It's a freshwater fish found throughout the Great Lakes. It has rapid population growth, up to 5,000 eggs per spawn. It consumes large quantities of a variety of food. It spreads through rivers and canals. It reduces catch for the fishermen. And it was accidentally introduced in the ship's ballast water. So it's an example of one that wasn't intentionally but was accidentally introduced. Then we looked at the Indian mongoose. They were introduced to Hawaiian Islands to try to get rid of a rat problem, which they were not very successful at. But they do breed rapidly. They eat a variety of foods. They can live in a variety of habitats. They eat crops and many native species, decreasing the biodiversity, and then it also decreases income for those farmers. And they can carry a lot of diseases. We looked at zebra mussels, which are also found throughout the Great Lakes. They also can breed quite successfully. They can have up to 1 million eggs per year. They're filter feeders that eat algae and small animals, filtering up to a liter of water per day. So they're really good at filtering. Where they're found, the water is really clear, which is helpful for some species and not for many others. They attach to boat hulls, pipes, and cause problems that way. It also allows them to spread easily because they can attach and be carried other places. They do decrease food for native fish and harm other organisms that they either attach to or by decreasing food supply. Finally, we looked at giant Salvinia, which is an aquatic plant found in the southern U.S. It can clone and double its biomass in up to a week, and so one plant could cover 40 square miles within 3 months. It spreads by water movement or by boats and spreads really easily, leading to clogged waterways, irrigation systems, and then just the growth can actually block sunlight and oxygen from getting into the water, reducing biodiversity. So if we said, okay, what do we find in common between these invasive species? What is it that's allowing them to cause us harm and invade into these environments? We see things like ability for the population to increase rapidly, for ample nourishment because there's plentiful food supply, or they can eat a wide variety of foods. Their traits are well suited to the new environment, allowing them to thrive. And then they have either defense against predators or just generally a lack of predators to keep their population under control. So just a reminder of a couple of the key vocabulary words we looked at. We learned habitat, invasive species, and non-native species. So if you need help with any of those, make sure you go back and watch this again or check the notes down below. You can also find these case studies in your ebook if you need more help. And if you have other questions, let me know. All right, we'll see you in class again.